Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio is brought to you by AnglersChoice.ca, the Angler's Choice in handmade soft plastics. Also presented to you by Handlebars Musky Lures, Zing the Bling, Frantic Big Game Baits, Keith's Trophy Fishing, Fish NV Guide Service, and Husky Musky Leaders. You're listening to Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio. All right, folks, welcome to Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio, right here on the WRVO, Reno Viola Outdoor Network. I'm on the line with my good friend and sponsor, Fish NV's Brent Bochek. Brent, how you doing? And welcome back.
Hey, Ben, thanks for having me. It's good to be back on the air with you.
Well, you know, I always look for the update from Fish NV, and then I follow along there on your Facebook page. And you've been doing a lot of fishing this year, and doing those charitable events with the kids and whatnot. And what's this season been like for you, like weather-wise, and like let's get a rundown.
Well, first of all, since the beginning of May, there's been one weekend where I haven't been fishing, and that was because I was supposed to fish the salmon tournament at Lake Ontario, and it got blown off that weekend. So it's been very busy. We've been, if I haven't had people out in the water on a guided trip, then I've been fishing myself with friends or with family. Or it's been a very busy season, but it's been a lot of fun. We've caught a lot of fish.
Awesome. So let's talk about some different scenarios that you've been in, where you've had to knuckle down and kind of put some brass knowledge to work.
Well, it's funny. Say knuckle down. I had the weekend a while back where we had a wedding party out. I think it was back in July, and for a salmon trip. A buddy of mine had 3 guys in his boat, and I had 2 in mine. Mm-hmm. And on the Friday, we were out salmon fishing. I took my Heather here out, took my wife Heather out, and the 2 girls. And it was a rough day. It was windy. It was bumpy. And, I was fighting. We only had about 2 or 3 hours to fish. I was fighting to catch fish. Finally, I put a couple of rods down deep, and we finally caught two lake trout. And then the next day, it calmed down. I'm out there. Just went out for a couple hours by myself, and I came back and picked Heather up again and fished for a few hours. We got a few rainbows, but nothing at all. It's just, we couldn't get any big Chinooks going, and now I'm struggling, right? Mm-hmm. Got a charter the next day. I'm up at night thinking, what am I going to do to put fish in the boat? Next day we go out there. It was like magic, but all of a sudden I put the rods down. First couple rods I put down, we got a lake trout. At least rods are moving. And then all of a sudden we ended up, got salmon hitting, we had rainbows hitting. We ended up with 3 fish in the 25-pound range, and in a 6-hour charter, we had just over 20 fish on. So it was one of those days where, you see about knuckling down. 2 days previous, we were out fishing. Things weren't going right. That day was, it was fairly calm, and it was one of those days where you couldn't do anything wrong.
Mm-hmm. So, what kind of weather have you encountered this year? And what's your thoughts of it all, in respect to the fishing season?
Well, as I said, I've been on the water every weekend but once since May, and some days are windy, some days are rainy. You just got to deal with it. My attitude is to fish eat every day. Mm-hmm. If fish number 1 isn't eating, well, fish number 2 is going to eat. Yeah. It's just a matter of finding some active fish, and you just got to work at it. If you get out in the water and it's bad conditions, get behind. Sometimes you got to find a bay that's not so rough in, or try to get out of the wind some days, or work with the wind. Mm-hmm. That's where the wind's going to push you along them, or there's always something you can do to find fish. And if you're not catching them here, go look somewhere else. They're around somewhere. Yeah,
and that's one of the things that I stress is fish are always on the move. Bait fish are on the move. Everything's on the move. If you're standing still and not catching fish, it's because you're standing still, and you got to move. So,
Be willing to try new techniques, especially if I'm fishing by myself. I do a lot of stuff that I, something different, something new spot, new techniques.
What? You mean there's new kinds of stuff for fishing?
There's all kinds of stuff. A lot of this new stuff, some of the new stuff is actually old stuff that we're reinventing again.
It's true.
It's like we're reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, it's true. If ever or any one category could say that they reinvent the wheel, it's fishing.
But the bottom line is fish, they eat crustaceans, they eat minnows.
Yeah.
They eat anything that wiggles in the water, they're going to eat. So you just got, sometimes it's just a matter of finding active fish and finding, matching the hatch, finding something that they want to eat.
Yeah, exactly. When you're going for walleye in the Lakers and whatnot, what kind of lures are you presenting these fish? Like what's like brand or, what are you usually running?
Well, of course, that depends where you're fishing. When you're fishing Lake Erie for walleye up in the Kawarthas, we use a lot of jigs.
Yeah.
In the evenings, I'll start in shallow water in particular. I'll throw a lot of crankbaits, shallow running crankbaits, such as say the light target smelt. There's a good place to start. They got great color on them, great finish on the body, and they got real good action. But and that's matching the hatch. So again, you're using a bait that looks like fish that are in the water.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, and that's definitely important. You can't, if fish are eating emerald shiners, for instance, and you're presenting them hornday sucker minnows, chances are they're not going to bite. Well, you know what I mean.
If you can match up what's going on out there, it does make a big difference. So when you see a school of minnows swimming around, they're usually one kind of minnow.
Yep.
So if they're feeding on those, then show them what they want.
That bait ball by Live Target, that is probably, when it was launched this year at ICAST, I thought, now there's a money bait. That is exactly what fish see.
Well, I haven't had the pleasure of using one yet, but I am looking forward to it. They look good, that's for sure.
Yeah, they do. And I guess they're planning on launching before the spring.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the plan is for that. What their plan is, so. But when it is on the shelf, there, I'm sure I'm sure they're gonna put a lot of fish in the boat.
Yeah. Any tournaments or anything that you were in?
Just some salmon tournaments out here in Lake Ontario. The Straight Line Anglers in Grimsby puts on quite a few salmon tournaments. They put on quite a few other tournaments too, but the same ones that I fished. And then also fished a couple of, there's a bass event on Lake Erie with EduCast. Mm-hmm. And then another one on Lake Simcoe, Catch a Dream, that Dave Jong puts on.
Yeah.
Fished that.
That's a great tournament, or is it a tournament or derby? It's a tournament.
It's an event. That's an event.
It's an event. That's anyways.
That's an event.
Yeah,
or,
great event that Dave Chong puts on. That Catch a Dream.
Could be a carp, could be a pike, could be a perch. The main thing is to get the kids out fishing.
That's right.
For them to have a good time.
That is the name. That is the name of the game. Get the kids out fishing. My son came home today from school, Brent, and he goes, "Dad, can I have my fishing rod?" I said, "For what?" "I want to practice casting." "Okay."
Were you out there practicing to do that?
Brent, I don't need practice. I'll meet you on the mega tank. I'll meet you on the mega tank, brother. It's on. Andy Pilata, if you're listening, Brent and I are going to have a cast off on the mega tank. How you like that, Brent? Call my bluff, eh? What's that?
You do know this will be with a bait caster?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna use that pen reel. With the clicker.
You're killing me.
Brent Bochek, folks, NV, Fish NV. Brent is a multi-species guide, and he fishes Lake Ontario, Lake Erie. Where else do you go, Brent?
I fish the Kawarthas quite a bit. Mostly, a lot of Lake Ontario and a lot of the Kawarthas.
And you can find Brent's information online at fishnv.ca, or you can find him also on Facebook. He's got his Facebook page, Fish NV. And Brent, you have a contest going on right now.
Well, we had one going on until Facebook put a kibosh on it.
Yeah, what is that with the FB? Huh? The FB putting the wrench into us, eh? I guess he's getting wise.
As I said, you can find me on Facebook. You can send me a friend request if you want. If you're a fisherman, I'm going to accept it. NationalProStaff.com. You can find me on there. You can give me a follow there if you want. I put quite a few posts up on there. And fishnv.ca. We're just having our website redone, so in the next few weeks we'll have a nice, bright, shiny new website up with a lot of exciting pictures from this last year.
Awesome. So,
when I got that, we've talked before about when I got that bait in the head this year.
Yeah. How did that work out? Did you smart?
Put that picture on the website or not?
Well, I think you should put it under what not to do or what to do when. Huh?
Part of the reason I brought that up, that was a live target squirrel crankbait.
Oh yeah.
I hadn't really used one of those until I got it caught in my head by a buddy of mine, whose name I won't mention. Not that's his name. I'm not going to mention his name, but he stuck it in the back of my head. We went to the Valencia hospital, got a note. I didn't give him the bait back. So
I don't blame you.
Possession's
9/10 of the law.
On sand flats.
Yeah.
Dynamite on smallmouth bass. Just dynamite.
Awesome. So you take one in the bean, and you say, that one's mine. Right?
Then I started catching a ton of fish on it, so it's all good. Every time I catch a fish on it, I send a picture to Matt.
Perfect. That'll learn him, eh? You know what? Maybe if your big fat head wasn't in the way, that might have not have happened either, right?
You're killing me again, man.
Brent Bochek, folks. I'm just gonna pull up your page here, Brent, and get the folks the contest info, because it's a fantastic prize pack, and I'm kind of miffed that they're putting the screws to you. But anyways,
when I do reach a certain goal on there, we'll send out a prize pack. I'll keep a little low key, but I will send out a prize pack to somebody on there.
Yep, for sure. It's the Fish NV Ultimate Prize Pack. And all you have to do, folks, to enter this contest is like and share Fish NV's page. And there's rod gloves. There's some other stuff being given away. It's a great little contest, and Brent's information's right there for you. You can contact him, get set up for a guide out on Lake Erie or Lake Ontario or the Kawarthas. You do St. Clair too?
I don't guide up there, but I am going there next weekend.
Oh, there you go. I'm going to Georgian Bay.
We'll cross paths. I'll be going one way, you'll be going the other.
There we go. All right, folks. We're out of here. My guest, Brent Bochek, Fish NV Guide Service. Catch it. Brent, thanks again, buddy.
Thanks, bud.
Hey gang, Extreme Angler TV and all of the lake resorts are teaming up once again to bring you another fantastic prize vacation. Stay tuned right here for more updates. And also, like All of the Lake Fishing Lodge on Facebook to keep up to date as well. Tight lines.
We are Rob and Robin, you're on the water with the Bassasins. With yesterday's snowfall and a very cold day on the water, we are coming to realize it's almost time to put the gear away. So to stick with this week's theme, we decided a little reflection on the year was needed instead of a tip this week. 2013 has been a roller coaster for us on and off the water. The kind of ride you don't want to stop, but instead are anticipating that next turn will be even better than the one before. The ups, the downs, the setbacks, the accomplishments all led us to this exact place, a place where we get to spend our free time writing, doing radio, meeting new people, going on exciting new adventures, and getting to fish more than we ever could have imagined. This was a year that was fueled by our passion and our obsession with the sport we love so much. Next for us is the ice. And with it comes new challenges, new adventures, new friendships, hopefully lots of new PBs, and we can't help but say, bring it on. So this wasn't going to be a tip, but here's a little one for you anyways. In 2014, put yourself out there, push your limits, and let your true passion for fishing show through. You never know where it'll take you. Until next time on the water with the Bassasins, right here on Ben McWhinney Outdoors, Tight Lines.
Ben McWhinney Outdoor Radio is brought to you by anglerschoice.ca, the Angler's Choice in handmade soft plastics. Also presented to you by Handlebars Musky Lures, Zing the Bling, Frantic Big Game Baits, Keith Trophy Fishing, Fish NV Guide Service, and Husky Musky Leaders. You're listening to Ben McWhinney Outdoor Radio. All right, folks, welcome back to Ben McWhinney Outdoor Radio. I have a very special guest. He's a provincial MPP for the Holderman Norfolk Riding. My next guest is Toby Barrett. Toby, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much, Ben. I appreciate you chatting a bit about what could be a real serious problem, an increasing problem with the threat of Asian carp.
Well, it's been in the foreground of my radio show that I've wanted to get a guest that was on the front lines, and you definitely are on the front lines in this issue of the Asian carp invasion. Can you tell me some of the mandates and stipulations you're trying to enforce up on Queen's Park?
You know, the concern here is we feel the Ontario government is perhaps going to get caught flat-footed on this. We know what happened with the Emerald Ash borer that swept through, and I've got it in my woods here down at Port Dover. So, as an opposition member, I had an opportunity this week to raise a question about this. I've raised the issue a number of times, and in the province of Ontario, we have the Ministry of Natural Resources. We have government for a reason. Got to make sure that the dollars are being allocated to a ministry like Natural Resources to keep on top of this.
Yes.
What sparked it really was there's environmental legislation coming in, and they talked a bit about invasive species, but with Asian carp and its potential impact on the Great Lakes, I feel there should be a lot more emphasis coming from the Ministry of Natural Resources. I don't see this as so much an environmental issue. Invasive species are the bailiwick of Ministry of Natural Resources.
True enough. And a situation like this, it just brings me back to what I've been hearing Prime Minister Harper passing these legislations and whatnot, basically taking the power away from the ministry and saying, no, you're just a revenue stream and we can't fund any more money into these projects.
Well, some of that may be going on at the federal level, and I work at the provincial level, at the Ontario level, and but I will say provincially too, we've seen the cuts to M&R. We've seen the money wasted in other ways. Don't need to get into that, but so it ends up the little ministries like M&R and Environment, for that matter. They're the ones that get throttled back, and I consider them very important ministries. One reason we're so concerned recently down this way is I live in Port Dover, and just down the lake at Port Maitland, Dunville, at the mouth of the Grand River, there were two Asian carp
discovered. They were sterile. They were grass carp. They're used in the States to control vegetation. So that put up the red light over the last few months. And then just this week, the Ontario Geological Survey reported that 4 grass carp, these are Asian carp, the river, it turns out they're not sterile. These ones are reproducing.
Oh, goodness.
And, so here we've got a species of Asian carp that's reproducing just across the lake from us here in that shallow water down Sandusky, Ohio area.
Now, the overall impact, as we all know, is complete devastation to our Great Lakes and freshwater tributaries, correct?
You know, that's the big concern. The ones like the grass carp, they eat vegetation. They're like a cow, and we're very concerned down here. I've got Long Point Bay and my riding. I mean, we're famous for duck hunting, and if you get these things in there eating all the vegetation, how's that going to influence habitat for migrating waterfowl?
Exactly. So is Ducks Unlimited helping in this issue as well?
You know, I think all of the outdoor organizations are watching this, and we've been certainly sending stuff over to DU.
The regulations that you want to impose, could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, very simply, what I'm asking for is for the Interior Government to give the Ministry of Natural Resources a green light to really ramp up the battle. You know, not just meetings and research and things like that, but we're going to have to get a little more action-oriented.
Manpower.
Manpower. I think we've got to get people over there across the lake. We've got to get people over in Chicago looking at that Chicago Ship and Sanitary Canal. We've got to have people up in Indiana taking a look at Eagle Marsh, which is another route for some of these Asian species to come in. I know from Eagle Marsh they could come directly into Lake Erie. Of course, at Chicago they would be going into Lake Michigan. The ministry itself has been doing work on regulation, as you know, and they put out a discussion paper last January, actually, about having the Asian carp that are shipped up here for food to make sure they're gutted before they come in here. You know, they got to be dead, they got to be eviscerated.
Because for our listeners, Asian carp, they're lung fish. They can breathe out of water for several hours.
Well, this is it, And I think the way they do it now, if they're shipping them up, the shippers that bring them into the markets in Toronto, they drain the water out of the truck on the American side. But like you say, they can still be in there breathing and kicking. And then if there was a traffic accident or something, they ended up in a ditch or a stream or a river. And we've got them here instantly. So I say make sure they're dead, make sure they're gutted before they cross the border. Now,
in some Asian cultures concerning the Asian carp, when they catch them, if they catch more than one, they put one back. It's like this ritual. It's to, I guess, promote that they'll catch another fish next time they go out to feed their family. And there's a huge market for these fish, and the cost of a fine to, say, a trucker that's not, or to a company or shipping company, commercial fisheries in this Asian carp demographic, the amount of money surpasses the fine that they could receive.
Yeah, there's money to be made in this business, and perhaps they're seeing the fines as a cost of doing business, so they're willing to take that risk. There may be a few unscrupulous people in the business. So, yeah, that's one thing, and M&R is obviously working on that as far as them coming in for food. And I guess my concern is, the Chicago Ship Canal or this Eagle Marsh, where they could actually swim from the Mississippi Basin into the Great Lakes Basin. And I just think there's more work that's got to be done on that. And not just the grass carp. I mean, we're also concerned about the black carp and the silver carp.
Yep.
Those are the jumpers.
Yep.
And the ones that jump 10 feet out of the water, and the big head carp. So there's 4 species there. And regardless of whether they eat vegetation or plankton, if they get into the Great Lakes, or certainly Lake Erie, I'm under the impression they're probably going to pretty well eat everything that's there, and nothing else that's going to do very well.
That's true. And the grass carp being found is a large enough concern, considering phytoplankton and zooplankton reside in vegetation throughout their life cycle.
Yeah, once they're here, they'll probably do pretty well. They'll be hard to get rid of. I mean, we know the European carp. We certainly got them in the Lynn River in Port Dover, and they seem to thrive. They seem to do pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Is there any drastic steps that the MNR and yourself are discussing, like I don't know, massive shockings or possible non-threatening poisoning of these Asian carp? Or
I haven't heard too much about that. We hope they're not going to be here in the first place, so we have to consider that.
Yeah.
I know at the Chicago Ship and Sanitary Canal, they use electric shock there as a barrier.
Yeah, as a barrier.
To keep them from coming through. At the Eagle Marsh, up near Fort Wayne, Indiana, I think they should drain that marsh if it's linking the 2 watersheds, so that they did spend about $200,000 putting a chain link fence across there, but again, eggs could flow back and forth. They're talking about a berm across this marsh. I think they should drain the marsh myself.
Yeah.
So I'm not aware of drastic measures. I just think we've got to have our Ontario MNR talking to the various U.S. Great Lakes states, being there to help out. I know the researchers obviously talk to each other. And Ontario's got to talk to the federal government on both sides of the border. Yeah,
they need to, I think they need to open their minds and wrap their head around this, and also open up the funds, because there's a ton of young, bright, passionate students coming out of Lindsay and Sir Fleming. It's a shame that some of our young conservation officers can't be part of this issue, simply because the funding is not there to put them in a placement with the MNR, which I think is absolutely foolish, because you could formulate a complete task force for this issue. With all these young students.
I'm not saying it requires new money either. I'm just talking about reallocating money from some other lower priority issues. Because you look at the dollars that are at stake. I mean, the sports fishery alone, what's that? Something like $7 billion in the Great Lakes. Fishermen, very significant. There's,
$8.6 billion, I believe, is the number on our Canadian sport fishing.
Commercial fishermen, that business there, that's about $250,000 business right there, and of course tourism.
Yep.
And I mentioned that I'm concerned about a link to duck hunting and other issues as well if the grass carp get into our marshes.
Well, Toby, thank you very much for taking time out and being a guest on my radio podcast here. Toby Barrett, folks, MPP of the Holderman Norfolk Riding. He's fighting for your fishing rights. Thank you very much again, Toby.
Yeah, thanks for the interview, Ben. That's great. Bye for now.
Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio is brought to you by AnglersChoice.ca, the Angler's Choice in handmade soft plastics. Also presented to you by Handlebars Musky Lures, Zing the Bling, Frantic Big Game Baits, Keith's Trophy Fishing, Fish NV Guide Service, and Husky Musky Leaders. You're listening to Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio.